So the World Cup is underway, and it's probably the biggest spectacle that there is in all of sports. To the people that watch soccer, follow soccer, obviously this is nothing new, right? The only thing new is that this is happening in the United States here, so it's a huge event. And for those that don't watch soccer, hopefully you guys get into it. The beautiful game of soccer. This is probably the most fun time, and it happens every 4 years. So it's happening in our country here. So it's going to be an exciting month to 2 months here. Now there's a couple things to expect from the World Cup leading up to the event here. One of which being the travel that these teams have to go through. You're going through Canada, Mexico, United States. So you're basically going through all of North America, as well as the temperature. So a lot of these countries, European countries, they're used to playing in 40 to 50 degree weather. You have England that is, basically bitching about the weather. You're seeing pictures all over X on how hot it is, even though it's only 80 degrees. So that's a big thing. That's a scenario where I could see them, potentially losing to Mexico in the high altitude in Estadio Azteca. So that's something to look out for. But it's a completely different climate than what they're used to here. I also believe that the host countries will go furthest than they've ever gone. Mexico, it seems like they're expected to top the group and expected to go pretty far just because all of their games are in Mexico. Even the U.S., they have a pretty easy group, so they should make it relatively far, as well as Canada. Don't have as easy of a group, but like I said, all of these teams are playing in their home country, so they have a home field advantage. Not only do they have a home field advantage, but they also have the luxury of not traveling to place. They're sticking to their country, sticking to the same temperatures they've always played in, and that's enormous, especially in this tournament here. Also, we have the benefit of FIFA. Go back to 2002 when South Korea made it to the semifinals. They had a lot of help from the referees, so that's something to keep in mind. You might be seeing other countries' fans start to question the integrity with the referees, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it'll probably happen. So we're gonna get the benefit of the whistle a lot of the time. So hopefully it goes in our favor. So using that to make a pretty good run in the tournament. I also believe that there will be a first-time champion. There's only been 8 countries to win the World Cup, right? Most of them being Europe, some in South America. So I expect there to be a new champion. Looking at the countries that have already won a World Cup, some of them, they're not, maybe in their best form. Some of them might not have the strongest squad going into the World Cup. So I'm looking for a team like Portugal, who is loaded up on talent, a lot of the players in good form, and Cristiano Ronaldo, same thing with Messi, although he's coming back for another World Cup. What's a better send-off than winning the World Cup here in the United States, right? The same thing with Netherlands. A lot of the players playing in top leagues, and that's a sleeper team. They've made it to finals before. They kind of remind me of the 1990 Bills, where they made it to 4 Super Bowls, losing all 4. I think the Netherlands have been to 3 finals, losing all 3. But this is a team that, might surprise some people and make it further than what people think, right? Obviously you have the Japans, you have the Ecuadors, those sort of countries that have a ton of talent. I'm just not sure if they have the goods to make it all the way, or they could potentially, one of them could make a deep run, but, usually once you get to like the semis and especially the finals, the big boys usually, come out on top there. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind with the World Cup is, when we have all these visitors coming from different countries, how much soccer actually means in their country. We think of soccer as a third world country sport, as a, probably our 4th most popular sport here in the United States. But over there, that's their primary sport. That's a sport where they've been playing since they were 2 to 3 years old, right? That's their primary. That's what they watch every weekend. That's to us when we watch NBA or NFL. That's something that we watch every weekend or even during the week after work. That is that is what they see in soccer, right? So just going to see a ton of passion when it comes to, cheering for their countries. A lot different than us, I guess, be the equivalent of how we see NBA, NFL, and MLB. So, yeah, I mean, you're gonna be seeing a ton of passionate fans, especially from South America. So a lot to look forward to in the World Cup. So it's gonna be a great spectacle, great month. Or I don't know how long the World Cup is, but it's gonna be a great month here.